Look, I'll be honest with you, Chris. We came across your website a couple of weeks ago and I had to talk to you. Like, it's unlike any website I've seen. It just, there's so much on there. And honestly, I want to know what it is because I don't know. And I felt like I needed to reach out to you and talk to you. And hopefully you can help us understand some of this stuff that you're working on, that you have been working on for decades, because it's pretty interesting. And again, well, apart from that, the song that plays as soon as you hop on the website, I'm not gonna lie, for the past 2 weeks I've been humming it in my head. It's phenomenal.
Thanks.
You have to
That's
explain that.
mad. That's really mad. I appreciate it. Um, so the website is. I've made what I don't want to use any particular traditions, but there's a concept of the vision quest, which is a kind of shamanistic or shamanic idea that, particularly if we take the context of psychedelics, people are taking ayahuasca and peyote and magic mushrooms and so on, go into a kind of visionary state, which has parallels with mystical religious experience, if you like. And what I've tried to do is make a website which is my life journey of discovery of the inner nature of the universe as a kind of apocalyptic reality, if you like, that it's all too much for us to fully understand. And there's
Mm.
something absolutely huge going on in it, that people invent mythologies and things about God. And on the other side, we've got science trying to get to understand nature, but that this reality is there's a thing which is the cosmos, which is greater than the universe. And what it is our conscious experience of the universe and our vision quest to understand the nature of what is conscious existence. Why are we here? Uh, what is this all about? Uh, so, symbiotic existential cosmology is an event that happened because I took a very mild mushroom trip after a lifetime of taking psychedelics
Yeah.
because I had had acute closed angle glaucoma, which is I'm long sighted, and if my pupils dilate, I may go suddenly blind
Oh
because
Oh,
wow.
wow.
the fluid uh, from the back of the eye and the front of the eye can't get through the iris.
Okay.
So I didn't
Wow.
have any psychedelics for 7 years, and then I had a very mild mushroom dose because I have a relationship with mushrooms, which is that they are kind of the secret to life, the universe, and everything, if you want to put it in kind of Aldous
Yeah,
Huxley.
I've heard that off so many different people as well, that like you'll have something going on and then you take mushrooms and then it kind of sets you on this like life path almost.
Yes, and on the other hand, we're talking about some really fundamental human. Mushrooms have a role to play in our discovery of existential consciousness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're all incarnating. Somehow, what we are is a conscious experience, some of which is seeing that we are living in a universe that's kind of solid, like,
Yeah.
it has the sensory and experiential attributes that you and I can both tell I'm banging on the table and there's some kind of solid world out there around us.
Yeah, like a
Hmm.
physical reality, right?
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
but religious tradition and dreams, memories, and reflections can become completely unhinged from that into other realities that we don't fully explore because we do come from visionary foundations of animism, and people have been doing this throughout centuries. But the level of the waking world is very dominant in most people's rational mind thinking. and only a few mystical kind of Indian sages and so on really go into the depths of what is this conscious paradox that we are caught in. Why are we incarnate beings that 100% of everything we know and understand and relate to is our conscious experiences of reality, but somehow out there is a universe that we all know we're in. And
Yeah, okay.
there are concourses of this process that are very powerful, because in a single human experiencing reality, this is somehow a crest of how the universe makes itself able to know and understand what it is through us.
Right.
So there's a thing that I would describe as a messianic complex that every single human being on the planet, if they let go and go in fully into the potential of the vision quest that their consciousness possesses,
Mm.
they have the same secrets that people that make religions, the insights from both the East and the West of the religious impulse, are the vision quest of discovering the nature of the universe.
That's fascinating. Would you say that in that light, everyone is a messiah in a way?
Everyone's a messiah, yes, but
Interesting.
it's
Okay.
it's very, very difficult to contain the ego twists of actually just trying to look at it as it really is. There's a thing in ancient, like the animism that was before Vedanta, has a concept called rata. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's conceived of as being later as the state of natural order, if you like, but it's really things how they really are. Like,
Right. Like the boiling it down to its bare concepts
and
from a
not just
reality point of view.
its concepts, but the true vertical truthfulness of an immense, like, rather than thinking up into the transcendent heights, there's an abyss within consciousness, which is, like it's very deep, falling down into mental states that are meditative states or psychedelic states. We don't know how deep they are.
Like many layers stacked on top of each other that keep getting deeper
Yeah,
and
well,
deeper.
not even layers, but dreaming can be a very unhinged type of reality in terms
Yeah,
like
of course.
lucid dreaming. It's like, where are the limits of this? And there are no boundaries like in the physical universe where things are. You can be staring out the window and find your
I've
seeing.
heard you can eat chocolate cake and it tastes like chocolate cake.
Yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So.
Have you lucid dreamed? Do you often do
Yeah,
that?
yeah. No, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your
So
experience with lucid dreaming?
Uh, I had a great deal of trouble with lucid dreaming, and um, then I suddenly one night absolutely knew. I was following Carlos Castaneda, looking at the backs of his hands and trying to do that in dreaming.
yeah, I've
I was,
tried
I
that
was,
too.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
climbing ladders and all kinds of things, and I had looked at my hands and hadn't noticed, and the dream went on. And eventually, suddenly, I'm in a dream, and I know that I'm lucid dreaming, and I get this incredible intense blast of, sometimes when you're dreaming, it's like flying dreaming, you start to levitate. Uh, that was getting uncontrollable. I was actually standing on an Indian promenade in very bright sunlight, and there was the same time as the thing happened, there was a blast of sea breeze that came through and blew hollow droplets off the ocean. And I was wearing a thin Indian shirt, and I could, like, super sensitively feel each one of the drops of water hitting my shirt, I could see them all separately. And
Wow.
like,
Wow.
and then I realized there was a woman looking at me in the street, and I realized I was not in the universe that I thought I had always existed in, but I was far away somewhere else, and it became absolutely compulsively ran towards her uh, because I looked up into the sky and I realized it's not our sky. It's like I'm somewhere out there, and how am I here? And ran up to her and grabbed her and stared deep down into her eyes, and she just shook her head and smiled. Now, at the same time, I found, oh, yes, there you are, lying on the bed down there on the floor. And you're absolutely fine. I don't need to find my way back from wherever. So that suddenly, that there were three things happened simultaneously. One was I was on the promenade. Another one was I was shooting up in the air. Another one
Hmm.
was, oh no, everything's all right. You're just lying down there in the bed.
Were
So
you aware that you were lying down in the bed
that's,
at the time of
Yeah,
dreaming?
that's weird. That's
but that's
So
very
you were
rare. But it's like,
conscious.
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Well, it's a pivotal experience that changes
Yeah.
your life, and you may not experience it exactly that way again. But
That's
so,
fascinating. Can we just like go a bit deeper into that? What do you think dreaming is? Do you think it's its own separate reality or a sub-reality, for lack of a better term? What's your personal opinion on the whole dreamscape that people sometimes call it?
well, uh, I see dreaming as a very volatile neurological experience that has. It's a type of vertical reality. We can relate to lucid dreams. Uh, Conscious experience is a kind of vertical account of what experience can be. We don't know quite what experience is, but I see it as like a locale, as a kind of activity that you can do with lucid dreaming that gives you various insights. And for example, there's a whole thing about space and time and anticipation, and the idea that consciousness evolved because it can anticipate really uncertain existential crises in future through the nature of consciousness being a space-time spanning anticipatory process, that organisms survive because they're conscious, and the way they survive because they're conscious is because consciousness provides, it's like a subquantum physical anticipation that's cosmological. It's not something that's about neural organization, but it's about how molecules are from the symmetry breaking of the universe, and how that entire fractal dynamics works is not just simply causally mechanistic. And so it's doing handshaking between the past and the future, creating a quantum of the present in which we exist and survive against the odds in a way that a machine can't.
Yeah, I was actually reading about this on your website, and it was one of the main things I wanted to talk to you about. The way I sort of wrapped my head around it is it's sort of like a quantum level of anticipating future outcomes, sort of like a quantum evolutionary instinct, on like a subconscious basis that we don't necessarily have control over, but it's happening in the background. And yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah, I had no idea sort of how to wrap my head around that. I was hoping we could take a look at that a bit further. How did you sort of get involved in thinking along that line?
Uh, it has been, I don't want to emphasize psychedelics too much, but I've got a psychedelic history. So,
Yeah, pretty important.
ah,
Yeah, pretty important.
yeah,
Well,
thanks.
yeah, if it's important, like if it's what like puts you onto it, we want to hear about it because like personally, and I can speak for Brandon too, we don't have too much experience with psychedelics either. Um, and it's just a perspective we want to hear as well.
Yeah, it almost seems
Right,
like a
right,
whole nother reality that regular people have developed a stigma towards that, you can't explore for that reason.
right. I understand all that, but the thing is, the question that we're really facing, psychedelics are a component of how to relate to this, but there's a deeper and more fundamental thing about cosmic reality and how it works between
Okay.
consciousness and the universe. So you have in history models like God created in 7 days, and you've got Vedanta thinking that Vishnu is dreaming the course of history with Brahman coming out of his navel and so on, and it's a cosmic mind view, which is somewhat different from the divine creative view. um, we are living in some sort of universe, but it's the thing that I noticed taking LSD in 1968, when that all happened, like Yellow Submarine and so on, was that the nature of reality is something that's profoundly different from what any traditions, perhaps even including the Upanishads. It's really wild and different, and we're living in a scientific age where major paradigm revolutions are happening. So there's a central question which I've learnt fairly recently, but it's how to express the subject object paradox that is at the foundation of reality, and sort of why it's there and why we're here. And that is what there's a who was a semi physicalistic philosopher called Jaegwon Kim, and he described the double world knot of consciousness, like subjective consciousness is one side of what our experiential, like, portal to reality is,
Yeah,
and the other side is mental causation. That is, we can actually decide and do something mentally. We are conscious entities experiencing a conscious experience, and I can pick up a mouse and I can debate with you, and there's physical processes coming out of me that are somehow changing the history of the universe. So
free
there's
will, yeah.
some sense in which subjective consciousness, and what Jaegwon Kim said, there's a philosopher called Schopenhauer, he's a very pessimistic German philosopher, and he described the world not as the fact that we are both the generator of our conscious experience, and we are also some entity in the world of the conscious experience we're looking at. And how can this situation be? And so he called that the Weltschmerzen,
Mm.
which is the fundamental paradox of existence. Now, I think that is, there's the thing about modern science has discovered lots of things. So if we're talking about brain research and looking at optoelectronic synapses and a whole lot of EEG studies about exotic mental states and so on, there's still an idea scientifically that consciousness is just a neurological or neuroscientific question.
Yeah.
And even the hard problem, like, is not a cosmological problem. It's just a thing about biology and how brains make an internal model of reality, if you like. Now that's it's insufficient because we are facing a reality which is apocalyptic as a description in the Western tradition. Like I try to relate. Like I started out as an Anglican, and Henry VIII, invented Anglicanism so that he could divorce his wife. And so, what's religion about?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, you've got the personality of Jesus. But what I'm saying is that there are certain motifs in that whole tradition, which I'm from the West, and I've been to India and I'm in the East. But the question is, what is the destiny of that weird Western tradition?
As a weird Western tradition religion, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, Christianity as a sacramental religion is something
Right.
weird, because the central rite of Christianity is the Eucharist.
Yeah.
It's meant to be drinking the blood and
Mm.
eating the flesh of Christ. What the fuck is going on here? But
Yeah. Yeah.
it is sacramental.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very, very major. That's a religion, and it probably comes from the Greek mystery cults and so on. That there was a Jewish Hellenistic twist to Jesus becoming a religious. Christianity was an explosive process that didn't just come from Jesus, but also came from Paul, and it's a weird, what do you call it? Concrete, syncretic junction of Hellenistic Judaism and apocalyptic Hebrew.
Yeah.
And the figure of Jesus got expanded and exploded, so he becomes a cultural figure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that Christianity then is sacramental. But I want to come back for a minute to the double world knot, which
Mm.
is the foundation of reality is cosmological. Consciousness is not just a neurological phenomenon, it's how the universe makes itself manifest.
Yeah, that goes back to what you were saying. We generate it, but also experience it, right?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that's a very, very odd relationship. Like if you take wave and particle, waves are very different from particles, but we have experience of both in the classical sense, because we can see waves, we know how they behave, we can go surfing and so on, and we also
Yeah.
know about particles. So the weird difference between waves and particles is tangible to us, although quantum theory is perplexing.
Yeah, that statement is almost contradictory.
Yeah. Now, what I think that Jaegwon Kim got really right, and it's like a way of understanding the predicament we're in, the existential condition, is that the Welknoten is that thing of both being inside it and a member of it.
Yeah.
And the universe has created that relationship, and it's irreducible. You can't take that relationship apart. It's like waves and particles, but it means that consciousness, like, the Indian philosophers will say cosmic consciousness made reality, made physics, and so on. Maybe that's not true. Maybe we're caught right in the middle of the center of the cyclone of the paradox between physicality and idealism, if you like.
Yeah.
But the Welk-Notten shows that the whole cosmos has to be centered on the Welk-Notten itself.
Yeah.
And that is, on one side, how the visionary nature of consciousness gets anchored in the physical universe. So on one side, you're meeting science halfway, because we are biological organisms, and this whole phenomenon hasn't just happened because there's a supreme deity in the universe. It's quite the reverse. What's happened is the universe has got to be like a huge zygote that is managing to bring itself into being through the wave particle. Like, firstly, we get cosmic symmetry breaking, meaning that the color forces and weak forces are able to make the most incredible dense arrangement of quantum chaos, making eventually 100 chemical elements that are vastly more complicated than the color forces and electromagnetism themselves. And then they start to assemble into molecular structures that then polymerize. And so you have a fractal chain reaction of nonlinear force interactions that is so asymmetric that molecules can turn into organisms, essentially. But then the universe does this great manifestation of biogenesis, and eventually it gets to the metazoa. And all along, the subjective element was part of the process. So if you went back to the cosmic origin, if you go all the way back, you hit the Welknoten is the source of the cosmos, because it has to create subjectivity and objectivity to become manifest and witness itself.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it's hard to wrap your head around, but I'm getting you. I
Yeah, I think I'm
understand.
getting there.
Yeah.
Well, so what got you onto all this, Chris? Like where does your story start with like even learning about all this stuff and developing, your own theories? And I had a glimpse of your paper. It was like obviously I think it's like 1,074 pages long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty hard to get through, but where did it like all start for you?
Well, it started with this mushroom trip. So
The mushroom trip.
I have a very mild mushroom trip. I haven't had it for a while, and I'm in my late 70s. And I've done all these other things, like I've been to the Amazon, I've done ayahuasca and so on. So I know what psychedelics are like. I had a very mild mushroom trip. And then there's a certain kind of meditation where I want to let go. You have to abandon your ego if you really want to get somewhere. So I have a
Yeah.
proactive attitude to say there are two ways of doing this. One is very clear, relaxed, highly focused. It's like one-pointed meditation, if you like, and then completely annihilate, let go. You're not any position you take is now going to destroy the sensitivity of the whole process. So you I call it annihilation meditation. You try to do what is necessary to completely let go of your incarnation. And
Yeah.
when
Okay.
people want
Yeah,
to
okay.
experience moksha, the way to experience moksha is you want to get outside the incarnate perspective, because everyone's really worried they're going to die. Is life eternal? Entropy is out to get you. We're not parthenogenic, so we um, we need to understand this, and we need to get outside our incarnation to experience moksha.
Yeah.
So the letting go is the process that enables the ego to dissolve enough so that subjective consciousness, instead of being organismically encapsulated, the organismic encapsulation naturally starts to fade. And one thing psychedelics do is promote that kind of reaction. And meditation also promotes that kind of reaction. And there's the thing about brain areas, like there are some brain areas like the precuneus, which then they're not frontal and they're not the amygdala and they're not about memory, but they're about how you synthesize the ongoing image of self and other. That when you're in an egotistical state, it's all about orienting towards the existential crises that are incipient in your environment. And so you will be daydreaming and thinking about that you've got a work interview, or did you fail the interview yesterday, or whatever it is. That whole thing can dissolve. And when it dissolves, the conscious experiencing person can enter into all kinds of things that near-death states are like, which are that you feel that you've met somehow cosmic destiny, and you are standing at the threshold of, are you going back to your incarnation or are you going on? And most people who experience these near-death experiences obviously are going on because they survived to tell the tale. So
Yeah.
they experience being drawn back into their incarnate state from a situation in which they were, if you like, in telepathic contact with some disincarnate apotheosis of themselves that is in some sense their true eternal nature, and that they could go with that or return, and we return.
Like a soul returning to the ether.
Yes, but something even greater, because
Yeah.
it just absolutely struck me in the Vedantic position, Vedantic tradition, that this is what they describe as Brahman.
What is Brahma?
Brahman is ultimate reality. Brahman is consciousness, the universe, cosmic consciousness, if you like.
And that's what we're experiencing now, or that's what's around, above, below?
We are experiencing an encapsulated form of Brahman,
Yeah.
which by the sensory boundary conditions and the functioning of egotistical consciousness, if you like, the
Yeah.
identity of the person as a persona traveling through life, are encapsulated forms of what could be cosmic consciousness.
Yeah.
But there's something in the symbiotic existential cosmology view. This is not primal cosmic consciousness, but it is a state that humans, or no, organismic conscious organisms, like not just humans, dolphins could experience this too, that your consciousness lets go enough of its doors of perception to fly open, that it then becomes witnessing outside the incarnation that we're trapped in, because you've slipped through the Welt Notum onto the other side of reality, if you like.
Opening the third eye, for lack of a better term.
Yes, the Tibetans will the Tibetan Book of the Dead and so on, but then you get various things like reincarnation coming into that as religious doctrines that are kind of debatable.
Hmm.
So
Is is is
you
that what you think cosmic destiny is?
say that again?
Is that what you think cosmic destiny is?
Cosmic death?
Destiny.
Oh no, cosmic destiny is, oof, look, physics, and there was from the Newtonian point of view, we had Laplacian causality. So then the initial conditions determined the final outcomes. And so people could see that as final destiny, if you like, that everything was like a divine clockwork and was proceeding to a great attractor destination or a mechanical destination. But that's not what it's like, because quantum physics can only predict probability. So the cat paradox, you let a particle go and it's got a certain probability of escaping the nucleus. And if it escapes the nucleus, it hits the detector, and that breaks a flask and the cat's dead. The universe is making decisions all the time, and they're unique decisions. So there are all these kind of ideas, like about karma, that people will say what goes around comes around. You've got people who've got various ideas of moral causalities that are about the accidents of fate, and why each unique event occurs in the universe. The only predictions that physics from outside can make are probabilistic predictions by the amplitude or the power of the wave function at the point in space. So that's not what's happening to us. We are experiencing existential crisis and all kinds of accidents, storms. When you walk across the road, is a car going to come screeching around the corner? Reality is happening to us, and the universe somehow is deciding all these things uniquely so that things happen. And so that is karma, is the difference between uncertainty and what actually happens. And my view is that consciousness, that's the central, like the center of the cyclone of consciousness is about that. And that's a form of the double world knot, but it's also about anticipation. And how it comes about is because special relativity always has both positive and negative solutions And so there are forward and backward time solutions involved implicitly in all special relativistic quantum theories. And manifestor, I've got to get a battery to keep us going in about 2 minutes. But you
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
say
it's all right. Yeah,
when
no
it's
worries.
over. You can say when we've had enough. But uh, I believe in a form of quantum physics, which is quantum transactions, in which the emitter of we're living in a real positive energy universe, and in a real positive energy universe, the positive energy particles are retarded. They have positive mass and they travel in space time in the ordinary way that we think causal interactions occur. They don't do retrocausal bullshit. But the inevitable thing that comes from real positive energy particles is that the emitters of the particles are in their future. And so, which kind of quantum collapse occurs is a transaction between the emitted particle in, say, the present and a whole lot of possible absorbing particles in the future. And somehow that is a handshaking that effectively ends up with karma. Like what actually happens comes out of that.
Yeah.
And so that is implicitly, I call it transcausal, that it's a handshaking between past and future that's necessary for quantum collapse to occur. And
Mm.
that subjective consciousness, in its intimate complementary role, is party to the implications of that quantum of the present being spread out. So we are living within that, and it helps us survive. It will also help us survive if we're smart intellectually and can reason with ourselves about poisons and accidents and so on. They are also survival tools.
Yeah.
But I think that if we're taking the idea that the rise of the biota is a cosmological accumulation of the complexity that comes out of cosmic symmetry breaking, and look at consciousness uh, in that way, then we have to accept that, like when we were talking about the messianic condition, we're all somehow carrying the messianic condition, and we could all completely, we may never expose the whole nature of reality, but we are walking in a kind of enchanted realm in which we are the witness to this entire phenomenon as it
Yeah.
is. And we have a much greater responsibility. Like trashing the planet is just like, from this point of view, causing a mass extinction of biodiversity is just insanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
I'm going to stop for a second and get a battery, and if you want to keep talking, I'm happy either way.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
another 15, 20 minutes. That'd be really good.
Okay.
It's obviously a lot, but it's all really interesting.
Yeah.
There's things out there like learning about stocks, learning about politics, that they're things that you can learn about, sure, but they don't really matter much. And then there's things like what you have been researching for decades that, these are the things, to me, in my opinion, that sort of matter. I want to learn about the
And it's just
universe.
interesting too.
Yeah, and it's
Like it's
interesting
really
stuff.
interesting.
Yeah, and it,
Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry it's so long, but what I've done is it's like the witness, things that pass through. Like if I see a new piece of research, I've got to include it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
it's
I
kind of
haven't,
your own like little, not portfolio, but like your own little link to be able to find everything.
Well, you said it
yeah,
was
yeah,
almost
but
like
more
a
that if
life's work.
somebody else comes through,
Yeah.
they can find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
So it's got to be completely findable. And also, if you're going to propose a lunatic kind of theory about how reality all fits together that might challenge traditional religion and science at the same time, you've got to ground it in empirical support. So it's
Well,
got to
yeah,
be
I
able to
don't think it's a
stand.
lunatic theory at all. I think it's healthy, perfectly healthy to challenge things, and that's exactly what you're offering and presenting, a challenge. And it's healthy to challenge. It's healthy to learn and listen to challenges, and that's what we're trying to do here today.
Well, yes. Anyway, uh, next question.
Um, yeah, look, I really wanted to talk to you about your trip to Jerusalem.
Yep.
Um, I saw the photos. You were there at the turn of the millennium, right? That would have been incredible.
It was incredible.
But
Look, I'll tell you, 20 years before I went to Jerusalem for the millennium,
yeah,
uh, I I took a mushroom trip, and that was what I was going to do. And I don't know why, but it's because I want to save biodiversity. So
that mushroom
I
trip
gave
prompted
I
you to go
gave
to Jerusalem?
I kind of gave Christianity the remaining time to show that the tradition could protect the planet.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I'll go to Jerusalem in 2000. And so I very carefully planned it because I'm a retired academic. I applied for academic leave. I got it. I secured a booking with a liberal Jewish person in Jerusalem who was trying to celebrate the millennium and have it as great meeting of the paths, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go to Jerusalem and make some very simple practical rites of passage that would establish a couple of principles that replace the apocalyptic age. And they
Yeah.
are the tree of life and the Hieros Gamos.
Sorry, what was the second one you said?
Hieros Gamos, the sexual reunion of male and female.
Yeah.
Now, if you are dealing with monotheism, you are dealing with the patriarchy. And the patriarchy has, there's a huge contest going on in human evolution that as a species, we have a very vicious form of sexually antagonistic coevolution going on.
Yeah.
So if you go back 10,000 years, Y chromosome diversity went through a 5,000 year collapse. So the Y chromosome diversity 5,000 years ago is only a fraction of what the Y chromosome diversity was 10,000 years ago. Now that is attributed to Neolithic patriarchal culture being homicidal and selectively homicidal to competing clans. And so
Okay. Yeah.
whole clades of Y chromosomes got wiped out on a massive scale, so that there's a natural sex reproductive ratio of one male to two females in reproducing males, because half the males don't get a partner and all the females get pregnant unless they're infertile. The natural relationship for Homo sapiens is about 2 to 1 in long-term evolution. But the sex ratio went from 2 to 1 to 17 to 1 over 5,000 years.
Yeah.
And it's so both Vedic religion and monotheism are patriarchal, reinforcing obedience of the woman to the man and the man to God, essentially. So they have to be contended with. Therefore, the Hieros Gamos. It's
Yeah.
a sacred marriage. You have to, for humanity to survive, it's a survival question. Religions promote a form of cultural survival, but whether we survive as a planet, we have to ground our religious fantasies, if you like, in natural reality to
Yeah.
survive. Uh, So I wanted to go to Jerusalem and do it right. That if nobody took any notice, that's all right. But I wanted to get in there then to have done something that would become impossible later, as it has,
Mm.
to be able, even in a quite simple way, to celebrate the transition from, what do you call it, eschatology, if you like, to the tree of life.
Yeah.
But the whole secret is about life. We don't have to, we don't have to have too many people on the planet, but the preservation, the lesson in the original mushroom trip was that I was sitting there and there was Brahman, and Brahman was very, very compassionately saying to me, look, you're in the center of the cyclone. You are incarnate. That means you're both a physical entity and a spiritual entity, if you like. But I am a quasi-eternal, disincarnate entity. Now, I can't exist and be witnessed unless you, in the center of the cyclone, preserve life and keep it able, because that's how I exist as cosmic consciousness through the biota.
Yeah.
And,
The
and
symbiosis.
yeah, so that was uh, compassion. Compassion from the disincarnate, potentially eternal nature of consciousness for the consciousness in the mortal coil, but imbuing it with the responsibility that you are in the mortal coil so that you will preserve life. And then you have religions going on and not even caring about it, and we'll have a great rapture and burn the lot.
It's all
We
very apocalyptic, yeah.
Yeah, it has to get grounded. That has to stop. We can't
Yeah.
live on mutually assured destruction.
I personally don't think it's true religion, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I went there, and you've got three major religions all there stuffed in together. But I managed to breeze in and breeze out, and had a very nice little 12-day workshop with liberal Jews all coming in, having an exchange of ideas.
wonderful. Sounds
Yeah,
like I'd love to go to Jerusalem one day.
it was okay. I didn't get thrown in Ward 12.
Sorry, what's that?
The Jews, the Israelis have a special psych ward, because so many
Yeah.
Christians come and start to,
Hallucinate?
pear shaped.
Yeah.
Get stigmata? Yeah,
Right.
right. That's insane. You talk a lot about apocalyptic prophecy, for lack of a better term, but from my lack of understanding, you seem to think that we're in sort of an apocalyptic vision or an apocalyptic reality. Can you maybe tell us a bit about that?
Say that again a bit more clearly. Yeah.
You, I seem to pick up from you that you think that we're in a bit of an apocalyptic reality.
Look.
Things coming to the end. What do
Yeah,
you,
no,
can you talk
I
a bit
don't.
about that?
I don't. I think the catcher in the rye is all about things not coming to an end.
Yeah, right, right.
So you have to have the agent that avoids things coming to the end. And
Yeah,
so, in writing symbiotic cosmology, I'm trying to say how it is, like Rata. It's up to the world to make sense of that and appreciate what it is actually giving as the way through apocalypse.
yeah,
We have realities. We have far too many nuclear weapons. We are causing climate crisis. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump thinks it's not happening. It is happening. And Ukraine and so on, we're in a continual state of warfare that
Yeah, just never ending conflict, basically.
we've got AI problems. I'm not trying to be dramatically negative, but I'm saying that the Earth is facing what astronomers call a Fermi extinction event,
right, yeah,
because culture is faster than evolution, and then technology is even faster than culture, and very rapid, unconstrained processes lead to Fermi extinction.
right.
So that's apocalyptic. So you have the scientific view of that creates an urgency. And then the enormity of the nature of reality, because consciousness is cosmic and not just a personal whim, is that
Mm.
we have absolutely huge responsibilities, because each single one of us has got the capacity to realize what goes down and what must be done.
We're also interconnected, right?
Yeah, but yes, we are
Mm.
also interconnected.
Yeah.
So there's a sense in which the great paradigm shifts of human consciousness have happened through that interconnectedness.
Yeah.
And certainly it's not one leader trying to tell the others what to do. It's a consensual awareness of who and what we are.
Yeah. No, of course. Um, Tyron, did you have any questions?
No, you've answered everything I've really had to ask, Chris. This
I
has been great.
yeah, this has
It's
been
lovely. It's very good practice, because I occasionally get an interview, but you know, it's very a stimulus to be challenged, and
yeah.
yeah, so I
I don't
appreciate.
know if we put up much of a challenge, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, you're an observer, so you're on a vision quest, and that's the encounter.
just trying to learn, you know? We
Yeah,
all
that's
have to
basically it.
start
Just
somewhere.
Right.
trying to find out everything, and
Um,
Well, I want to say the reason it is 1,000 and odd pages is
yeah,
because it's providing a true life account of what happened to me and how I saw it the way I saw it and why.
yeah,
So that makes it big, but I'm not trying
yeah.
to make. And now electronics is very forgiving. Like, it's only 52 megabytes.
oh yeah, it's tiny. Like I can use it. I can
Yeah,
view it in my
I've
browser.
got a
It's
lot of
crazy.
personal effort into compressing the images.
There's
Yeah,
there's
it's
nothing
It
wrong with a
makes
big there's
I
nothing wrong with
really,
a big
I
book.
really love a PDF with lots and lots of live links, both outside itself and inside itself.
it's crazy that like I'm on it right now, and like it boots up in a second. Everything is right there. You don't have to wait. It's just all in front of your face.
There's
Anyway,
nothing
look,
wrong with the length of it.
lovely to talk, and lovely to share the time and space. And thanks a million for what you've done.
Yeah, we'll have to do
Thanks,
this again
Chris.
sometime. It's fascinating talking to you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and yeah, have a good night, Chris.
You too.